Hi, my friends. Welcome to the gathering. I am David Ault. You're going to hear from me over and over again spiritual principles. And what is happening in our world, it's not anything new, but I'm sure you can relate to this, is that the spiritual principle continues to collide with human reality. For example, a spiritual principle would be from my mouth to you. God is all that there is. Love is the ultimate reality. And that collides with the human realities of conflict and war and death and struggle and pain that we as a society, that we as a species continue to face every single day. And most of that is centered around the fact that this oppositional force, these pain points within the human experience, are loud. And because they're so loud, they vie for our attention and they get it. And so there is this struggle, there is this internal warring going on in our own consciousness, within our own field of thinking in our mind that goes, wait a minute. And so we question spiritual principles. In fact, oftentimes what we want to do is demonize them or demonize the person who is speaking them. And we then begin to associate new terminology to justify our struggle. We might call it toxic positivity or bypassing. And it's not that there aren't elements of that do need to be addressed. But we can't begin to take those new terms and overlay it on all spiritual principles. There's a responsibility that you and I have to find the integrity within the principle. And that's where the journey of self-awareness really takes an interesting new step, a new level of the beyond appearance component that we are invited to participate in. The new beyond, meaning your and my experience on a day-to-day basis to see beyond these surface conditions. And oh my God, I know how tough it is. And so one of the best examples, I think, in order to help facilitate this is to look at this. This symbol, the Yin Yang symbol, the light and the dark. And paradoxically, what this symbol encompasses is the totality of all experience. And so what we tend to do in our humanness, in the limited perceptual participation of the human experience and the world, is we try to eradicate one of these. You know, you could say that if this was a white fish and this was a dark fish, and the white fish needed to eat all of the dark fish for survival. And so if the white fish succeeded in that, consumed all of the dark fish, then not only do the dark fish die, but also eventually so would the white fish, because that source would be gone. So it's a lesson in paradox, in realizing that the light needs the dark encompasses the light, that again, everything is not severed or separated, but that all of it is in existence in order to bring this harmony or this balance, even though polarity exists in all of this. It's the be in the world but not of it mentality. But what you and I find ourselves doing, particularly when we are bombarded by all of that noise, the noise of separation, the noise of war, the noise of hunger, the noise of injustice, the noise of inequality, is that we want to then go and fight and eradicate those things. And so here is a sobering thought. as noble and as seemingly loving and justified as those intentions are, I want you to stop for a moment and consider that that is an impossibility. In this plane of form, in the earth plane, the plane of form, the land of two, duality, the us and them, good and bad, right and wrong, worthy, unworthy, rich, poor, light and dark, all those things. In this land of two, baked into this dualistic system, is this yin yang principle. And what that has taught us is that war and discord and injustice has always been woven into the human experience, or in the plane of form, or in the existence of duality. There's never been a time in our history, there's never been a time in all of linear evolution where there wasn't this kind of conflict. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to eradicate something to make it go away. And there is a really strange moment on the path of awareness when you go, oh, if God is all that there is, then it means that that which is this seeming yin yang symbol representing balance is telling us that the purpose is not about eradicating anything, but it's about being an individuated example of love, of light, of harmony in the seeming darkness. The quest is not to get rid of the darkness. The quest is to be the light in spite of the darkness. Do you see the difference there? The quest is not to go in and fight against something. The quest is to obtain a vision of light and to bring your visionary, individuated good into all facets of the world. There's a difference there. There is a difference there. And I think part of the struggle for most of us is that we look at advocacy, we look at justice, we look at these things and we see the darkness that needs to be overcome or won over to make it go away. And our efforts then become about that. It becomes about an energy of eradicating. And any spiritual principle that tells us that God is all that there is, that the cosmology of everything is a perfect pattern, or we are taught that the divine design or the infinite intelligence exists within all things, then what is truly a masterful choice to lean into is, I want to see where the divine design exists in its seeming absence. I want to be able to look at polarity and still find a way to know, to be deeply rooted, that love is the only reality here. I will tell you that it's very difficult. It's very, very, very difficult to maintain that. Because again, every single day, what's going on? A lot of noise vying for our attention. And so when we began to consider that yin yang is inevitable, it is a part of the design, it is a part of the fabric, again, then our work is not to try to fight or eradicate something, but to be the centered component, example of love and of light and of generosity and of wisdom and of discernment and of peace, even when it appears to be absent. In that way, we become masterful in our participation in the curriculum of this plane of form. Again, the plane of form, duality, two, seemingly opposite to the spiritual principle, because we come from a macrocosm. We come from that is the one, the non-dual, and we're here to do that. Why? I can't tell you. I don't know. I know that there's a soul journey. I know that there is this ultimate, beautiful, symbiotic reasoning as to why you and I perhaps are in a soul pod, or that we meet the people that we meet, or that we are born into the family that we are born in, or that we experience the physical challenges that we experience. Again, not as punishment, but as a part of moving us through this yin yang experience in a way that is most beneficial for the evolution, for the encompassing of that spiritual principle of the totality of God to the best of our ability. That means then that everything that we have labeled as enemy is really a masterful teacher. All of the things that are aggravating and irritating are actually sort of sloughing off all of the sleepfulness, the forgetfulness of who and what we are. But most of the time, we don't understand that, and we don't get that until we experience something called hindsight. And yesterday, I wrote down, hindsight is the harmony and wisdom that always existed. Hindsight is the harmony and the wisdom that always existed, except only in that moment, after distance, after enough experience under our belt. We look back and we call it hindsight, and we go, oh, it's kind of like the thing where we go, boy, I'm glad I didn't get what I prayed for or what I wished for. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful that you wish to eradicate all the darkness from the yin yang symbol and only have one thing, because there are repercussions to that, you see. So there are many, many moments where we hunger for relief from some type of thing. Again, totally natural. But hindsight shows that that thing that felt insufferable at the moment, that thing that was the irritant, that thing that was aggravating, that thing that brought sorrow to our heart, in some way was an integral, instrumental propellant for you and I to move forward. And it depends upon where you are in your life and what's going on right now as you hear this and the way in which you and I receive it. These types of things can cause us to nod our head and go, ah, yes. Sometimes they can cause us to shake our heads and just be so angry. And you can be angry with me for saying them. But there's something in that anger. There's something that is pushing us, moving us even closer to a hindsight, an aha moment. There's a wonderful writer. Her name is Mary O'Malley, and she wrote this. She said, life is set up to bring up what has been bound up so it can open up, to be freed up so you show up for life. I want to read that again and break it down a little bit. Life is set up. What is life? Well, what you and I are experiencing Anything where the sentient nature of us is interfacing with other people. Is this the totality of life here in this plane of duality? No. But life, the totality of that, which is incomprehensible, the totality of life, all dimensions, all galaxies, all planes, all of it is set up. Pause. Life is set up. Yin Yang is set up to bring up. Here we go. So, the Course in Miracles, there's that beautiful quote, one of my favorites, that says, "Love brings up everything unlike itself." I used to be confused by that until I realized that if I'm going to walk around and announce that I am a being of love, then everything unlike love must come up. The yin yang must come up in order for me to see it and still proclaim and still advocate for being a vessel, a person of love, right? Because then if that doesn't happen and I crumble every single time there's adversity, then my words are meaningless. My words are meaningless. And so life is set up, to bring integrity to what I am. Because if I'm an individuated vessel of God, God incarnate in human flesh, then life is set up to bring up what has been bound up. What has been bound up is my forgetfulness, my domestication, my actual devotion and belief in duality. Life has been set up to bring up what has been bound up, my forgetfulness, so it can open up, so that my mind can have an aha moment, so that my mind can have hindsight and go, oh, life is set up to bring up what has been bound up so it can open up, to be freed up, so that I have my liberation. I have my awareness. I have that return home, like in the story of the prodigal. It's really an allegory about waking up, about returning home to the natural state, the welcoming state, the loving state, the open arms that wait patiently for you and I to get to this awareness. Life is set up to bring up what has been bound up so it can open up, to be freed up so you and I show up for life. Show up for life. What greater thing is there? What greater thing is there? Again, how do we apply this? Well, you can begin this week to think about all the things that you're trying to get rid of, to make go away, to want to retaliate against. The things that cause you rage, anger, and to begin to look at all of those things and take a breath and say, all right, if all of these things, even the most horrific injustices, and every day they are there, every day, the noise just cannot stop showing them. And if you and I are meant to be in the world, to be in the world, to be in this land of two, but not of it, then that famous scripture, that famous edict, principle, simply means that every moment we are given the opportunity for hindsight, for the awareness that harmony exists. Harmony. No thing, I wrote this down too, no thing is outside the bounds of harmony. How dare I say something like that? But it's what I'm committed to. I'm committed to see it even when it appears to be absent. Thus, in my commitment, the only way that I am able to have victory in my commitment is to be the thing that I'm saying I'm wanting to see. There is our life's work. Someone again yesterday at an event came up to me and started talking once again about their struggle for their purpose. And I listen to this question a lot. People of all ages, of all economic backgrounds, still trying to find their purpose, struggling with what their purpose is. And I always say this one thing: purpose is not vocational. Purpose is being willing to see the harmony in all things. Purpose is for you to live and to breathe and to be in your joy. That's purpose. All the other things, all the vocational things are incidental, but they stem from that. And if you and I commit ourselves to being the being that sees and lives and are deeply rooted in joy, it means that we are being vessels of joy. We are being vessels of compassion and love. And even though we know that this dark light experience is always going to be, then it means that paradoxically we get up and we choose to be the light anyway. Not because we will defeat anything, but because it is the ultimate decision. That's our purpose. I love you so much. May you find your brand of peace. May you find new elements of your purpose this week. Till next time.